So first thing, just lay out your skirt on a flat surface like the ground and make sure it's as even as possible and spread it out a little bit if you need to. So now you're going to take the sharpest scissors you have, ideally fabric scissors since we're dealing with silk, and you're going to cut at the length that you want it. If you're going to be using a sewing machine, don't forget to consider seam allowance, but since I will be doing a rolled hem, it's not too necessary. So I'm just lining it up with the shorter layer. Now I'm just trying on the skirt to make sure it's nice and even. I did discover that there was one section that was a little bit long, so I laid the skirt back down on the ground and cut off that little excess. So because I was dealing with a tricky woven silk fabric, I wanted to use a zigzag stitch to secure the ends, kind of pretending like it's a serger. So here you can see the settings I used on my sewing machine. And to do this, you're going to line up the fabric so that the edge of the fabric will be enclosed within the zigzag stitch. So the right side where that zig or that zag is coming down should be outside of the fabric, and then the left side should be on the actual fabric. So this way it'll kind of wrap around the fabric. And then once you're done, you're going to have some edges that are sticking out, kind of just like loose threads. And so I like to snip those off. It only really takes a second, and I think it gives you a nicer look. So at this point you could be done, and especially if you added on some fray check to the edge of the fabric. If you just did the zigzag stitch, it would look quite similar to the serged edges that are normally on the skirts, but I find this to be, one, not very appealing visually, and two, not necessarily as durable as if we added in the next step. So now that we have done all of that prep work, we can finally actually get to sewing the hem. So you're going to thread your needle with a polyester thread of a matching color. I like to use about 1 arm's length of thread, and you're going to double it up. So you're going to fold it in half, if you will. And then you're going to join the 2 ends of the thread, and we're basically just going to tie them in a double knot. And you'll watch me here kind of do this interesting twisting thing, and it's a little trick my grandmother taught me. So you twist the fabric, the thread, and then you wrap it around your finger, and then you kind of push forward, and you kind of get a double knot. You can also just double knot it, and it would be way simpler, but that's my little trick. So then you have your needle and thread ready to go. So we're going to be doing what is called a rolled hem, and so for this, you'll first fold the fabric over about 1/8 of an inch. I've already started here, so I'm just joining a new thread. So the first thing I'm doing is just inserting my needle to kind of catch the first thread. So pull it all the way through so that we're ready to start. And then to perform this stitch, you will insert the needle first into the bulk of the fabric right where it meets the fold, and then up to the top at the very edge of that fold. And here you can see we have the needle at the bottom, and then going at a slant up to that top of the stitch, and then you're going to pull it through. You're not going to pull all the way just yet, and then we're going to repeat. So you can see that that first stitch was kind of at an angle, so when you insert at the bottom again, you're going to go either right below or a little to the left of where that first stitch was, and you kind of just repeat this process of going in at the base of that fold and then at the actual folded part. And you're going to keep doing this for about 4, 5, 6, however many stitches you want, until you get to the part where you actually pull the thread through and you pull it tight. So now that we have a few stitches done, you'll kind of hold the fabric and then pull on the thread pretty firmly. You know, it's polyester thread, it's not going to break. And then you can see that the fabric curls under and is enclosed in the rolled hem. So the stitch kind of does all of the hard work for you. Alright, here we're going to go through those 4 or 5 stitches once again. So you insert the needle in both the bottom and at the tip of the fold, pull through, insert at the bottom right below where the fabric is folded over, and then at the top of the fold, and then you keep going. So before you start this, as you can see here, I'm kind of pressing down that fabric and giving it a nice little fold. So you'll have to, with your left hand, fold down that edge and kind of keep it secure, while with your right hand you actually do the sewing. So the rest of this video is just me continuing to make more little stitches. If you want to be able to hopefully see it at some different angles, and hopefully my thumb isn't blocking all of them, but I'll just continue to do this. For me, I think it took like 6 or 7 lengths of thread to get through the whole thing. So I picked up the video in the beginning where I had done one section and then I was starting a new section. And you'll just keep doing that until you finish the whole skirt. This hem is absolutely gorgeous. It's very dainty and it's quite durable. And since you hand sewed it, if anything ever comes up, you can always fix it in little sections. So that's really awesome too.